everyone, welcome back to this channel, and I hope you guys are enjoying the scary stories I've been reading out of this book. And if you are, please let me know in the comments below, or like or subscribe. And I enjoy reading these short little stories to you guys every day until this book is over. As you can tell, I'm just starting to read these stories, so if you love these stories I'm reading to you, like I said, please like, please subscribe, please share to your family and friends, and let's just get right into this story. And this one I'm first starting to read is The White Wolf. And some of them do have pictures, some of them don't, but when there is, I normally show you guys. So, the timber wolves around French Creeks had gotten out of hand. There were so many wolves, the farmers could not stop from killing their cattle and sheep. So they settled. The state put bounty on them, so they would pay a hunter $10 every wolf pelt they turn in. The butchers in town named Bill Williams thought that was pretty good money. He stopped working as a butcher and started killing wolves. He was good at it. Every year he killed over 500 of them. That came to $5,000. It was quite a bit of money in those days. After 4 or 5 years, he had killed so many wolves there were hardly any left in the area. So he retired and vowed never to harm another wolf because wolves made him rich. Then one day, a farmer reported that a white wolf had killed 2 of his sheep. He had shot it and hit it, and bullets didn't have any effect. Soon that wolf was seen all over the countryside, killing and running, but nobody could stop it. One night, it came into Bill's yard and killed his pet cow. Bill forgot his decision never to harm another wolf. He went into town the next morning and bought a lamb of bait. He took it into the hills and tied it to a tree. Then he backed off about 50 yards and sat down under another tree. With a gun in his lap, he waited. When Bill didn't come back, his friends started looking for him. Finally, they found the lamb. It was still tied into the tree. It was very hungry, but still alive. Then they found Bill. He was sitting against another tree, but he was dead. His throat has been torn open, but there was no sign of struggle. His gun hadn't been fired, and there was no tracks of soil around him. As for the white wolf, has never seen again. Oofta. That was intense. There is a new. I will be reading another story out of this book. I don't know how many after this one, but the next one is called The Haunted House, and there's no pictures in this one, but there is a picture in the next one, which I will show you once I turn the picture to show you guys. So the picture I'm going to show you is with the haunted house story I'm reading to you right now. On the next page, when I turn, I'll show it to you guys. One time, a preacher went to see if he could put a haunt to rest at his house in his settlement. The house had been haunted for about 10 years. Many people had tried to stay there all night, but they always would get scared out to haunt them by the haunt. So this preacher took his Bible and went into the house. He went in, built himself a good fire and a lamp. Sat there reading the Bible. Then, before midnight, he heard something starting up in the cellar, walking back and forth, back and forth. Then it sounded like somebody was trying to scream and got choked off. Then there was a lot of trashing around and struggling, and finally everything got quiet. The old preacher took his Bible again, but before he could start reading, he heard footsteps coming the cellar stairs. He sat watching the door to the cellar, and the footsteps kept coming closer and closer. He saw the doorknob turn, and when he began to open, he jumped up hollered, "What do you want?" The door shut back like there wasn't a sound. The preacher was trembling a little, but finally opened the Bible and started reading a while. Then he got up and laid the book on the chair and went to mending the fire. Then the haunt started walking again. Step, step, step. Then up the cellar stairs. The old preacher sat watching the door, saw a doorknob turn the door, and it looked like a young man. Back up, he said, "Who are you? What do you want?" And then here's the picture. The haunt sort of swayed, and she didn't know. She didn't know what to do. When she was faded out, the old preacher waited, and when he didn't hear anything noises anymore, he went over and shut the door. He was sweating and trembling all over, but he was a brave man, and he thought he'd be able to go see it through. He turned his chair, and where he could watch, he sat down, waited. It wasn't long after he heard haunt stairs again. Slowly, step, 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 closer and closer, step, step. It was right at the door. The preacher stood up and held the Bible before him. Then the knob slowly turned, the door opened wide. This time the preacher spoke quiet. He said, "In the name of Heaven, Son, and Holy Ghost, who are you and what do you want?" The haunted came right across the room straight to him and took hold out of his coat. It was a young woman about 20 years old. Her hair was torn, tangled, and flash dropping her face, so he could see the bones in her teeth. She had no eyeballs, but there was short blue light back in her eye sockets, and had no nose on her face. She started talking and sounded like her voice was coming and going out of the wind blowing. She told how her lover had killed her for money and buried her in the cellar. She had if the preacher would dig up her bones and bury them properly, she could rest. Then she told him to take the end joint of the little finger from her left hand and lay it in the collections plate. And next church meetings he had find out who had murdered her. She said, "If you come back here once more after that, you'll hear my voice at midnight, and I'll tell you the money is hidden, and you can give it to the church." The haunted sobbed, and she was tired. She sunk down towards the floor and was gone. The preacher found her bones, buried them in the graveyard. The next Sunday, the preacher put her finger bone in the collection plate, and was a certain man happened to touch it. It stuck to his hand. The man jumped up and rubbed and scraped, torn the bone, trying to get it off. Then he went to screaming, and he was going crazy. Well, he confessed to the murder, and they took him to jail. After the man was hung, the preacher went back to the house one midnight. The haunt's voice told him to dig under the heart's honk. He said he found a sack of money, and where that money had held on his coat, the print of the bony fingers was buried right into the cloth, and he never come out. Woofda. That was also intense too. And I'm going to read one more story, and it's called The Guest. And on the last page of this story, there is a picture, which I'll show you once I turned, just like I did to this past story. So this is called The Guests. A young man and his wife were on a trip to visit his mother. Unusually, they arrived on time for supper, but they have gotten a late start, and now it was getting dark. So they decided to look for a place to stay overnight and going in the morning. Just off the road, they saw a small house in the woods. "Maybe they have rooms to rent?" said wife. So they stopped to ask. An older man and woman came to the door. They didn't rent rooms, they said, but they would be glad to have them overnight as their guests. They had plenty of room. And they could enjoy the company. The old woman made coffee and brought some cake, and the four of them talked for a while. Then the young couple were taken to their rooms. They again explained they wanted to pay for this, but the old man said they wouldn't expect the money. The young couple got up early the next morning before the hosts woke up. On the table near the front, they left an envelope with some money in it for the room. They went on to the next town. They stopped to the restaurant and had breakfast. Then they told the owner that where they had stayed the night before. He was shocked. That can't be, he said. That house burned into the ground, and the man and woman who lived there died in the fire. The young couple could not believe it, so they went back to the house, and now there was no house. All found it was burned to shells. They stood staring in ruins, trying to understand what happened. Then the woman screamed, and it was a bad burn table, like once they had seen by the front door. On the table was an envelope they had left that morning. And here is the picture. So I hope you guys liked those 3 stories I read to you. And if you did, please let me know by liking and subscribing and commenting, etc. and share, and I will see you tomorrow in the next video. Bye!